Okay, we'll keep with the theme that they started for us, which is what's next, looking forward. Let me introduce our new table. Welcome back to the show, Chris King, editorial director from the St. Louis American. Thanks for being back. Also, welcome back to Amy Hunter, director of racial justice, YWCA Metro St. Louis, and T.R. Carr, a member of the Ferguson Commission. I'll start with you, Mr. Carr. Can you kind of give us an update? Admittedly, maybe people paid a little more attention, unfortunately, to the Ferguson Commission when the meetings were contentious. But now, what's going on?
I think now we're in what I would call a listening phase. We're still gathering data, we're gathering information. We have to have a final report to the governor mid-September, and we're working in 4 areas. One, I'm co-chairing a group that is looking at municipal court operations. I'm also serving on another working group. Dan Isom is the co-chair of that one, looking at police-community relationships. We have just stood up a committee that's looking at economic development, jobs, opportunities, and another group is looking at educational opportunities. So the commission is very diligent right now, examining the issues that we face, and we hope to be able to come together with a report that does have some long-lasting impacts in our region. We may not have a lot of specifics, we want to stay out of the weeds, but we want to deal with general precepts and principles that can move our region forward. It's really a misnomer to call us the Ferguson Commission, because we really are dealing with issues that face us as a region as a whole.
Those are some heavy issues. Do you feel like you have the ear of those who can have the control over purse strings, or other influencers that can make a difference when you come up with these recommendations as you go?
That remains to be seen. The reason I wanted to serve on the Ferguson Commission is because I believe in hope. I believe that we have the opportunity to have that kind of impact. I have been meeting with municipal officials myself, talking with mayors, talking about the issues that need to change. And I believe that as a result of the Ferguson Commission, as a result of the issues that we now face as a region, I think this region will come together. I think we will move forward. St. Louis is a great region, and we have great potential. And this is our time to seize it and to move forward.
I don't think anyone would say that that's a bad idea. Some people kind of feel differently about how we should do that. Amy and Chris, I'll let you jump in on this one as well, and I'll put it to you, Mr. Carr. This is from someone on Twitter. Chuck C. Baker says, I agree, and we're talking about something we were speaking in the last segment, but he says, however, every person immediately jumps to race as the cause. We cannot move on until we see past color. What do you think about that?
I think seeing color is a good thing. It is part of who we are. It's a wonderful part of who we are. We talk about it in our region. And it also offers an opportunity for us to see what is different. And so I think what Ferguson has highlighted for us is the different realities based upon racial identification that some people are facing, not just here in St. Louis, but across the world. And so it also offers us an opportunity to create strategies to overcome that. And I think that's where our creativity comes, that we as a region can be thoughtful and strategic about how to overcome some of the barriers and mistreatment of people based upon racial identification. We would no more ask women to give up their gender identity than we would ask people of color to give up their racial identity. I think embracing race is a good way to do it, instead of trying to erase it or go to a colorblind society.
What do you think, Chris? What do you think? What do your readers think when people say, I want to move on? Some people maybe can, and some people can't. Fair?
I think we should move forward. And moving forward means that we are having race conversations. Moving forward means that we are looking within our institutions, like our educational systems, like our housing, like our healthcare, and seeing where the racial disparities are, and then not in a hopeful way, but in a strategic way, creating strategies to make sure that people aren't having disparate treatment based upon race. And so that is moving forward, and I hope that they're on board with that. This isn't something that goes away. This is something that we create the reality that we'd like to see in the world, and that will take all of us, not some of us.
Someone in the youth conversation, they were young adults, I think we could tell just by listening to them, at the very least. It felt good to shout in the rain or whatever the situation was. Some folks are ready to see the shouting stop. I also hear people say, though, as one person in the segment said, it's only been 7 months. This is a fire, I think he said, that's been building for a long time. What does the quote-unquote protest movement, what do they want next?
Well, I'm not a spokesperson for the protest movement.
But you talk to a lot of them.
Well, I do, and Obviously, there's a lot of attention to disparate treatment of African Americans by law enforcement officials. It is a national issue. In Ferguson, you see a predatory municipal government structure that's driving the cops. I mean, the cops are kind of the first victims of the scheme because they're forced to ticket aggressively, and they're taking it out on minority motorists and homeowners. But it's also a national issue where places where they don't have the same municipal hang-ups that St. Louis County has, but you still see very violent white criminals being brought in with tasers and non-violent black men being beaten to a pulp or shot to death. So those are real issues, and if you don't like people screaming about it, then you ought to do something more systematic to address the problem, and maybe if we address the problem, we would have less screaming about the problem.
So are there individual actions? We have a list of recommendations from the federal government. What do I as an individual, what do the rest of us, what's our role in all of this?
Get involved. This is our region. You know, we all have a role to play here. And I think what we could see is that we were not as connected as we would have liked to have been, so we didn't know what was going on in neighboring communities. So get involved. I was saying earlier that, you know, at some schools, kids can't take their books home. Like, who wouldn't buy a book? I just talked to a teacher that didn't have enough paper at her school to make Xerox copies for the kids to take homework home. Get involved. This is our community. This is our home. We can do things differently.
What you're seeing on your screen right now are some of the changes that the Department of Justice recommended. We're going to talk more about these as we continue, but also things that you guys might say as well.
Well, I think one thing that I've heard is that the schools need people to come along to actively tutor young men and young women to enhance their academic skills, to increase their likelihoods for success in the workforce. The children that are attending schools that are at risk would benefit from the infusion of adults with the ability to tutor, to motivate, to show them success. I think I would agree that we have to get involved, and it's an opportunity for our churches and synagogues and civic groups to be able to aggressively get involved to help. We can do nothing if we sit back. So this is, I think it really is a call to move the region forward.
What are you guys seeing with the young adults? That we have some that we just heard that were very well spoken in this taped piece that we have, but we also have a lot of young people who have maybe become active for the first time in very personal ways. They're traveling to Selma, they're traveling to Washington, D.C. Young people from around the country are coming here for their spring breaks. Is this significant? What does this do to?
Well, I think it's wonderful, truly. I mean, I've been at the St. Louis American for 10 years, and there was really two generations of young people, one that we thought were kind of lost to the streets, and the other that we kind of thought were lost to the clubs. And I mean, they're more engaged now than the people my age that were, long-term, activists and civic lovers. So it's been exciting for me to see young people that we had disregarded as not serious in some way, showing us how very serious they can be, and very inspiring to me personally.
I agree. I'm so thrilled and proud of the young people. This is their movement. They have had amazing leadership, amazing female leadership, I might add, in this movement. They have been thoughtful, they have been brave, courageous, and the reality of the situation is every social movement that's had success has been at the helm of young people. And so I think we should support them, uplift them, encourage them to use their voice. We're American citizens. This is how we get things done, through protest. And so this isn't a new phenomenon. And we're looking forward to the positive changes that come because of their leadership.
And I should point out the DOJ report also talked about the kind of speech that you might hear if you're out there at the protest, and you might not agree with the tone or even the vulgarity, quite frankly, or some of the things that are written on the sidewalk in chalk. Sure. But that's protected speech as well.
I read a book, it's a religious book, A Long Obedience in the Same Direction. And I think if we're going to build our region, it's a long road. And that means that I applaud the young adults that are spending their alternative spring breaks in our region. But this really calls for more than a few weeks. It calls for a month-long, a year-long, a decade-long effort to motivate, to equip, to train, to be sure that the next generation does have the opportunities, and that's what it's about. So it's not something that's going to be resolved overnight. At the same time, in terms of relationships with local officials, we need to spend some time working with the local officials who are elected by the public and to begin to explain the issues and to see them move in the same direction as well. It takes a cooperative effort by individuals, by municipal governments, by state, and probably by federal officials as well.
Okay.